everybody, for coming to the College Football Betting with Aaron Torres YouTube channel. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of the screen. Go ahead, click that subscribe button. It helps our channel grow. It helps our audience grow. I appreciate it more than you know, as we're talking college football on this channel year round. Appreciate your support. Click that subscribe button.
Welcome in, everybody. Another edition, 2025 preview edition of the College Football Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Torres. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody is having a great day. Cannot believe we are here. But let's reset for people that are new to the pod feed, new to the YouTube channel, whatever. Here's what you need to know. Okay, so in addition to the Aaron Torres pod, if you're not subscribed to the Aaron Torres pod, you need to be. We do a separate podcast during college football season, in the lead up to college football season, called the College Football Betting Pod, okay? Today, we are previewing Alabama, of course, going into year 2 of the Kalen Deboer era. A little bit of a disappointing result on the field, but off the field, Deboer is killing it, and I am fired up to talk Alabama. I want to remind you, we are recording before SEC Media Day, so stuff is subject to change. The quarterback situation, obviously, God forbid injury, so just keep that in mind. I don't need you yelling at me in the comments section if there's something weird that happens between now and week 1 at Florida State, but let's go ahead and dive into Alabama. First of all, I do think context matters. We do have to talk just a little bit about last season. Alabama, of course, it's been a fascinating probably 18 or so months at this point. We all remember where we were, January 2024, that Chris Lowe tweet drops, Nick Saban's retiring. And I think everybody had the same thought, who could possibly want to replace the greatest to ever do it? How about the dude that nearly won a national championship, Kalen Deboer? So I'll say this about Kalen Deboer going into last season, and I promise we'll get to this coming season in just a second. I thought from the day he took the job until day 1 of the season, he did just about everything right. Retained virtually everybody that he could have been asked to retain. Obviously, Caleb Downs was the exception there, but, Jalen Milroe, most of the offensive line. Caden Proctor left for half a second, but then came back. Most of the defense as well. The staff, listen, Ryan Grubb was never coming last offseason. We all know the story about, his wife wanted to stay in Seattle, whatever. Point I'm trying to make, killed it in high school recruiting, thought he did well retaining players, thought he put together a great staff minus Ryan Grubb, which takes us into the season. And it was certainly a fascinating season for Alabama, right? They open early in the season. They take care of business like you would expect them to against Western Kentucky on opening night. I'll be real, week 2 against South Florida, the final score 42-16 looks a lot different than the game did. It was sloppy. They pulled away late. It was a game, by the way, if you remember, where Alabama scored, how about this, 28 points in the fourth quarter again, and that maybe was a sign where we should have been a little bit more worried than we were, but they go on the road, they beat Wisconsin, and then, of course, that SEC opener against Georgia. They jump out to that 32-7 lead, And at that point, I think we were all like, oh boy, here we go. The Bama Dynasty Part 2. Georgia rallies. That great Ryan Williams catch seals the victory. But they leave September 4-0. They leave September with a win over Georgia. And we think it's going to be smooth sailing into the SEC championship game in the college football playoff. Honestly, bottom line from there, we all know what happened, right? Vandy happened a week later. Diego Pavia happened. And I think that was when we started to see two things. One, when you can slow down Jalen Milroe on the ground, Alabama last year could be stopped. And I thought the defense, especially early, really struggled. Now, to its credit, it was much better late. But you lose the game to Vandy. You don't want to overreact. It's a 12-team playoff era. But it was really kind of up and down from there. You survive South Carolina. You lose at Tennessee on that third week in October, but you beat Missouri going into the second bye, going into the LSU game. And you sit there and say, hey, our whole season is still ahead of us. So they're going into that LSU game. They destroy LSU, and everybody's thinking, oh, they're going to run this thing. They're going to be 10-2, go to the college football playoff. But as we all know, Oklahoma, 24-3 loss. Again, under 200 yards of total offense. Jalen Milroe can't get the ball going in the air. And so I just bring it up because they go into the final week. They take care of Auburn. But listen, there was an argument for Alabama to be in the college football playoff. We don't have to relitigate it, but 9-3, great wins over Georgia and South Carolina, bad losses to Vandy and Oklahoma. They don't get in. They lose to Michigan in the bowl game. And I think it led to some fair questions going into the offseason. Now, again, going into the offseason, going into this season, I think not only is there a lot to be excited about for Alabama, but I think more importantly, I think kind of Alabama's quietly lying in the weeds, right? Georgia, reigning SEC champ, Texas, Arch Manning, LSU, everybody loves Garrett Nussmeier. I don't totally get that. We'll discuss that later. But let's get into this Alabama team. Let's start on offense. And I think the most important addition is one that actually isn't on the screen. And producer Matt, you did nothing wrong. I think the most important addition is Ryan Grubb and his return to, well, not his return, but his return to Kalen Deboer's staff and his arrival in Tuscaloosa. You don't need me to tell you, if you're watching this in July, Ryan Grubb was basically with Kalen Deboer every step of the way, his right-hand man. And, that is one of the reasons I am so excited about this Alabama team, is I do think that Ryan Grubb brings, just something that they did not have last year in terms of a veteran play caller. I think it takes a lot off Kalen Deboer's plate, and it's why I'm excited about this season. I'll say this. I'm also excited because I'm excited to see Ty Simpson. Listen, again, we're recording right before SEC Media Days. Stuff is always subject to change. So right now, as we know it, Ty Simpson is the starter. Maybe something changes. Maybe something comes out at SEC Media Days. But I think he's just a better fit for this Deboer Grubb offense than Jalen Milroe was. I'm not trying to tear down Jalen Milroe, but we know both his strengths and his limitations. Ty Simpson, very limited playing time, but I think he's more of kind of that guy that's going to take care of the football, balance. He's obviously not going to beat you with his legs like Jalen Milroe is, but I think he's going to make plenty of plays with that arm. Couple things about this offense. First of all, the run game. Think it's important to note Jam Miller is back at running back. He should be very good. A.K. Deere, one of the top running backs in the 2025 class, arrives. And I think what's equally as important, as you can see on the screen there, great job by producer Matt, that offensive line might be the best in college football. Caden Proctor, third-year starter at Alabama. Of course, again, a half a second stop back in Iowa City. Parker Brailsford, third-year starter in the DeBoer system, of course, came with him from Washington to Alabama. And then I think there's a couple other names you need to know. Wilkin Formby is an important name, right tackle. I can tell you this, half of college football was tampering trying to get that guy into the portal. But again, as you saw on the screen, I think you can argue maybe the best offensive line in college football. And Ty Simpson will have no shortage of guys to throw to. The most notable one, as you can see on that screen, on that graphic that we just showed, Ryan Williams is back, second-team All-American, freshman All-American, All-SEC first team, 48 catches, 8 receiving touchdowns. You also have Jeremy Bernard. You also have Isaiah Horton, a transfer from Miami, and Isaiah Horton. And so Ty Simpson, assuming he is the starter, will have no shortage of guys to throw to. By the way, I'll just say really quickly, I think if Ty Simpson isn't the starter, it means that maybe Keelan Russell is way better than we expect. Maybe it's Austin Mack. Again, I expect it to be Ty Simpson. I'm just saying if for some reason it is not him, it's probably actually a pretty good sign. In terms of the defense, listen, to me, it's a tale of two halves of the season. Now, I should mention, by the way, before we get to the defense, make sure you're subscribed. If you're a Bama fan finding this, Torres on Bama. Torres on Bama on Twitter. That is our Torres-specific page. All things Bama, all the time. Recruiting, news, highlights, much more. Torres on Bama, run by a great intern at Alabama. All right, so let's talk the defense. And again, I think it really, in my opinion, was a tale of two seasons for that Alabama defense. I think if you were asking Alabama fans after the Vandy loss, cause for concern. Give up 34 points to Georgia, give up 40 to Vandy. They run all over you. Quietly, the defense figured things out in the second half of the season. Didn't give up more than 25 points in any game following the Vandy game, which was obviously early in October. I think it's worth noting, in the losses that Alabama had, I wouldn't put it on the defense. 24 points allowed in the loss to Tennessee, 24 points allowed in the loss to Oklahoma, 19 points allowed to Michigan. Well, when you only score 17 against Tennessee, you only score 3 at Oklahoma, you only score 13 against Michigan, that's part of the deal and part of the issue. Now, again, do you want to give up 24 to Tennessee? No, but the point I'm trying to make, I wouldn't necessarily say it was a disappointing year for the defense in any stretch of the imagination. And again, thought they got better over the second half of the year. In terms of names to note, first of all, up front, none of the guys are on the screen right now, but LT Overton, that kid who transferred 2 years ago from Texas A&M, thought he was really solid in year one. 3 TFLs, 2 sacks. Tim Keenan, 7.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. James Smith with 3 TFLs. But as you can see on that screen right there, I do think the heart and soul of that defense is Deontay Lawson. As you can see, a captain. I think he's going to take over some of that leadership role from Jahad Campbell, who was obviously drafted a season ago. 76 tackles, 6.5 TFLs for Deontay Lawson. Also bring back Quay Russaw, bring back Justin Jefferson. And a transfer I probably didn't give enough credit to, Nikhil Hill-Green, comes from Colorado. He was one of Colorado's best defensive players last year. I know it's easy to sit there and make fun of Coach Prime or whatever. I'm here to tell you, Colorado led the Big 12 in TFLs, led the Big 12 in sacks. That was a good defensive front, and this kid's going to come in and be a difference maker. Secondary, I think you can argue, is maybe an area of strength. Damani Jackson, much like LT Overton, came in last year as a transfer. I thought he played really well. 13 starts, 52 tackles, 2 TFLs. I thought took on a leadership role too. I thought it was really cool to kind of see him evolve because as somebody who lives in LA, I could tell you, I don't know that locker room leader was how you would describe him at USC. Maybe that's a Lincoln Riley thing. I'm not blaming the kid. I'm just saying, but I think he really matured and evolved over the course of his career. He returns for a senior year. And a bunch of other talent in that secondary. Keon Sabb, I don't think gets enough credit. Got hurt early a few years ago or in that season. Then from there plays on an injury and still ends up with 40 tackles, as you can see, a forced fumble. Great season for him. And again, he was basically playing on one foot there towards the end of the season. Plenty of depth there as well. Jalen Mbakwe, who certainly made headlines in the offseason, should add depth. Zabian Brown, who had the game-sealing interception against Georgia, is back. There's a lot of depth in the secondary, a lot to like there. Again, make sure you're following that Torres on Bama page as well. Really quickly, before we give our over-under pick, let's talk about the schedule, because to me, that's where I think not just Alabama, I think it's everybody in the SEC for the most part. It's where you really, let me even backtrack. I'm going to go ramble mode for half a second, but I think that's in it with all of these teams. And this is one of the things that I don't think we all thought about enough when all of the realignment happened. Schedules are so imbalanced. And so because of it, I just bring it up because with all of these teams, you really have to go through the schedule with a fine-tooth comb before we can talk about, are they going to hit the over-under? Are they going to be a playoff team? Are they going to be the SEC champ? But let's dive in. As far as the schedule is concerned, listen, we all know where they open. Florida State, week 1. Thomas Castellano certainly made that into an intriguing game. I think it's interesting with Bama, 2 out-of-conference power conference teams. Listen, this schedule was obviously made years ago. I think it was really made kind of in that heart of the Saban dynasty where people were complaining about too many neutral site games, too many bad out-of-conference games, whatever. But now you got to go to Florida State. Then from there, you play Wisconsin at home in week 3. You get the bye before SEC play opens with Georgia. The difference between this year and last year, it's at Georgia. And, by the way, young quarterback in Ty Simpson, at least in terms of game reps. I think the only saving grace there, of course, is that Gunnar Stockton is a young quarterback as well. But Georgia is obviously the big game. And then I think really, to me, the next really intriguing part of the schedule, third Saturday in October, Tennessee, LSU as well early in November. Both those games are at home. So that's a little bit of a break. I don't want to say a break, but listen, the way the schedules are structured, that 5-3 model that we currently have in the SEC, there are going to be one year where you get LSU and Tennessee at home, and Tennessee right now is as hot as they've been as a program in a long time. And every other year, you're going to get them at home. Don't think it's a coincidence that as great as Nick Saban was, SEC title in his final year, it helped you get out LSU and Tennessee at home. The difference is this year, in between, you got to go to South Carolina, which is not only an incredibly tough place to play, but a team that I know a lot of people are intrigued by, especially with the return of Lenora Sellers, 9 wins a year ago. You close the back half of the schedule. Oklahoma at home, coming off, of course, that loss last year. And then you got to go to Auburn late in the season for the Iron Bowl, the final weekend of the regular season. In terms of the over-under for Alabama we're going to use the DraftKings Sportsbook for now. It's, which is whatever. But I bring it up because according to DraftKings, over-under is 9.5. And the one thing we always try to be on this show is totally transparent. And this is one, I don't know that, if I was in Vegas or if I was on my DraftKings app or whatever, that I'd be in a rush to bet. Now, to be fair, I actually think Alabama's going to be really good. I think the offense is going to be better simply by having Ryan Grubb there. I think Ty Simpson is a better fit for the Ryan Grubb, Kalen Deboer offense than Jalen Milroe was. The O-line is going to be elite. And, of course, the defense, I think, is going to be very good as well and seem to get more and more comfortable over the season with that Kane Womack defense. The issue is just the schedule. It's like I said, listen, bottom line, how about this? The schedule is, quote-unquote, a little bit easier this year, and you still have Georgia on the road. You still have South Carolina on the road. Again, we're recording this before SEC. Those are going to be 2 top 15 teams in the preseason poll. You open against Florida State. Listen, I don't think you're losing to Florida State, but it's not going to be an easy game. And then you get Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma at home. And what is the thanks for that? You have to go to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. And the thing I'll say about the Iron Bowl is, listen, bottom line is, even if, first of all, I think Auburn's just going to be better than people give them credit for. That's another conversation for another episode. But even despite it, the last 2 times they've played at Auburn, when Auburn was going through year 1 of the Brian Harsin era and year 1 of the Hugh Freeze era, the Brian Harsin game was 4 overtimes. They ended up winning that game. And then obviously the Gravedigger play 4th and 31, or they lose against Hugh Freeze in his first year. So I just bring it up because Auburn is a really tough place to play. That doesn't factor in Georgia. That doesn't factor in South Carolina. Doesn't factor in Tennessee and LSU at home. Now, to be fair, again, 9-3 might get you in the playoff. 10-2 certainly will get you in the playoff. But this one to me is a stay away. I'll say this: if I had to bet it, I think I would take 10-2, and I would take the over. It's a stay away to me. I really like this team, but the schedule is just brutal. So that is our preseason episode 1. Feels good to just get the monkey off our back, right? It's like, man, it's been a long time since we did one of these preview shows. Couple quick things. 1, if you're not subscribed, college football betting, especially on YouTube, do your boy Torres a solid. Make sure that you're subscribed. College football betting on YouTube. We really would appreciate your support there. Again, we're closing in on 1,000 subscribers. This is all, by the way, in addition to the Aaron Torres pod, which is still 3 times a week, probably more once we get to football season. But make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed on Apple, Spotify. You want to do your boy Torres a solid. Leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple or Spotify. That's all for this episode. Let's go. Oh, by the way, make sure you follow Torres on Bama on Twitter as well. We appreciate your support. By the way, like and comment on this video. Curious, am I crazy? Am I crazy for underestimating the great Kalen Deboer? Am I crazy for assuming Alabama goes 10-2? Curious for your thoughts. Comment below. Let me know what you think. We'll be back a couple days from now, probably, with our preview of the Georgia Bulldogs. That'll be next up on the list.